As cars take to the track, welcome to Watkins Glen International, as it is Pirelli GT4 America SprintX Championship qualifying presented by CrowdStrike. Great to have you with us on an absolutely stunning day here in one of the prettiest racetracks you can imagine and one of the prettiest sections of the country. Greg Creamer with Calvin Fish, and we are getting ready for this qualifying session and basically split into two segments. The lower classified driver, technically, is out in this qualifying session to set the grid for the first race, and then the higher rated driver will be out in the second race. Now, if you're equally rated, you can pretty much do what you want, and that's why you see a driver like Vesko Kozarov out in this first segment here, but not a lot of time to get these laps in.
No, it's a 15-minute session, a lot of cars out there, so you've certainly got to have a strategy about how you want to attack this session. That starts before you even get out on the racetrack in terms of your starting tire pressures. And then do you just try and find a clear space immediately, lay the hammer down, or do you try and wait till the end of the session? Conditions are just about perfect. We're still hovering right around the 59, 60 degree ambient temperature range. Really not been a lot of temperature buildup here this morning over the last couple of hours, but the racetrack is in perfect shape. And Kozarov certainly had a very impressive year with he and Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton certainly gaining in confidence. Spoke to his teammate yesterday, Jeff Burton. He just said, you know what, we've got a good combination here. He said, Vesko's a great teacher, and I'm a good listener. He's a real sponge, so it works out well.
Yeah, we were joking, and we said, good soap, good sponge. That's exactly what you need. And he has been. He's been phenomenal. And I think one of the breakthrough moments for him, maybe a career moment for him, was at Sonoma when, after the pit stops, he was leading a very stout group of people. Had a nice lead, but there was a caution, and everybody kind of thought on the restart, well, let's see if he can do it. He not only held him off, he drove away from him.
Yeah, that was certainly making a statement. I think it just relates to where his head is at right now. He's got a lot of confidence in the race car. He's got Vesko giving him all the tools in terms of the technical feedback set up on the race car. And the key with a Pro-Am combination is the pro not just dialing the car into how quickly they can drive, or it's maybe what we call a little bit edgier, a little bit lively, or it's going to maybe you got to be on your toes a bit more. You need that car to be comfortable for both of you. There's no time to make a change in the race other than, just doing the driver change. No tire changes are made. So you need something that's going to work for the full 60 minutes for both drivers, like in the balance.
And I'd say a driver pairing that have found that sweet spot in terms of compromise are the ones that drive this orange and black Mercedes here. Christian Shimshak and Matt Fosnot, they have been just absolutely superb. They run in the AM class here, but they are one of the fastest pairings in the field. I was talking with Matt, and he said, he said the last round of the Eastern Championship was Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He said, it's been 90 days since I've even been in a race car. And he was back at it, and he said it just came back. I was really, really happy to see that. And they certainly are going to be one of the teams that are going to be a factor for a good run here, as you would expect for the number 91, as we talked about with Kozarov. But there are plenty of drivers that and car combinations here that are really, really strong. We have a new one here, top both of the practice sessions in the hands of Jan Halen. First time RS1 has a run in this championship, and in the second qualifying session when Jan's behind the wheel, I think we're going to see something interesting out of that car as well. So lots to be watching for in these two sessions. Yeah,
Jan Halen's a real firework behind the wheel. He can certainly get the job done. So great to see RS1, a team that's had a lot of success in various forms of GT4 competition over the years. They're a stellar group, and with that lineup with Jan Halen, they could pull a surprise one here this weekend.
Fosnot goes to the top at a 157.1. Fastest lap in either of the practice sessions yesterday was the first session. Halen turned to 155.8 just as a bit of a reference point here. And we had talked about it was a 155 flat that Ian James had for pole here last year as the target point. And in the sprint qualifying, similar cars, they got underneath that.
Yep.
So you'd think they're certainly going to be capable of that here.
Yep. The track really hasn't warmed up a lot. Sun has been out, but it's still really good conditions. See Vesko there, I don't really see the flow and rhythm just yet, so maybe he hasn't got those tires into their sweet spot. You really need to flow and get that real speed through that first section of the inner loop and carry that momentum all the way into the carousel.
Well, he has a great feel, there's no question, and he'll be able to sense that, yeah, this is the lap, this is go time, the tires are ready. And we'll see what unfolds. Nice to see, sitting second right now is Michael Dinan, and had that injury earlier in the year. Nice to see him back and running with that Lizards team, certainly. And big news here, people that have been watching Girazzi and Elvin Goulart, the number 27 Krug Speed car, been running that really, really quick Ginetta, but they just didn't feel the Ginetta was quite right for some of the tracks coming up, and they have made the move to a McLaren. And are going to be running that for the remainder of the season, it appears.
Well, certainly the McLaren was quick in the sprint qualifying.
Yes,
with
it was.
Young Jared Andretti putting the McLaren on the top of the heap there. So we've got a pretty good lap going here. Looks like Fastnart's kind of hanging with him. 2 personal bests for Fastnart. Brynjolfsson's got a good lap going here in the Volt Racing. Porsche as Kozrov now puts in a representative time.
What does he do? And it is a 55.3, so there we go. And now, there's maybe a little more rotation than he wanted there at the apex of 1.
Yeah, and that really will set up that whole first sector. It's all about turn 1, really, because you're flat out through this sector, certainly on fresh tires. You can just hear the tires screaming a little bit, but see what you can come up with here.
36 of Colin Mullen, teammate to Jared Andretti in the SprintX category, jumps to 2nd in the 36 Andretti Autosport McLaren. Alan Brynjolfsson, 3rd overall now in that Volt Lighting entry that runs from Park Place Motorsports. He's always quick.
Yeah, I could see that he was piecing together a nice lap there, looking at the time and scoring. His young Colin Mullen, he's really been a great fit for this Andretti Autosport team. Robin Pemberton, so much experience, kind of leading the whole group there. Endurance World McLaren has had a couple of races where they didn't quite find the setups, but in general, they've been there or thereabouts all season long.
And they've always been generally the quickest of the McLaren cars, so it tells you how quickly they were able to get their heads around it. And now Brynjolfsson cleared that little bit of traffic. It may have hurt him on this lap, but may give him a good run for the next lap. Fastnat in the 34 orange and black Mercedes from Murillo Racing is 4th. James Safronis running here with CJ Moses in the 04 CrowdStrike Amazon Web Services. Always sits 5th.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in that first sector. Kozrov, Mullen, Fastnat, Safronis. Mueller there, and the number 3 car is putting a good first sector as well. He's got a good lap going.
Yeah, Randy Miller, that is a stout program in that Epic Racing BMW. They've had some solid runs as well. Let's see what Mullen does here. A little bit off in that second sector, up by about a 10th over the fastest lap thus far.
Kozrov bumps that pole time down to a 55 flat. That's quicker than Andretti's pole, right, from the sprint qualifying.
Yes.
They did some testing at Road America, I believe, so.
Actually, didn't Andretti get into the like a 54? A high 54, I thought.
Okay.
So I will confirm that.
Kozrov continuing to push. Good first sector. 3/10 up on the majority of the field through the first sector. This is a monster lap if he can keep it together. Really nice line through there. That Audi is really looking solid. And again, as you said, kind of a reverse strategy with them. Even though Burton's certainly done a great job in keeping up his end of the bargain, Kozrov definitely has a little bit of an edge in pace, so they're elected to be starting their faster guy in race 1 and finishing him in race 2. You basically flip-flop the 2 starting lineups from race 1 to 2.
Kozrov has found a 1/4 of a second in each sector thus far to improve over his best time, which was already pretty solid.
This is a big one. This will be a 54 for sure.
If he keeps this pattern up, it could be a low 54 at that, too. Wow. 1 turn to go.
Tricky corner. Sometimes when you know you're up, you're going to play it a little bit more conservative. You don't want to throw away the whole lap. Let's see what you can come up with here.
54.479.
Wow, that's a second clear right now. Everyone's got to dig deep to try and get close to that one.
Safronis has jumped into 2nd at a 55.5, so good lap for him. But Kozrov just blew it out of the water. Colin Mullen still sits 3rd overall.
This is C.J. Moses and Sofrona's last run of the year, isn't it?
I believe so. They're looking to go out strong, that's for sure. We got 2 AM category cars running 1-2 right now. Then Mullen and Andretti would be the fastest of the Pro-Am cars.
Kozrov continues to trim that first sector time down. Bellardo has a really nice first sector. Personal best, sector 1, sector 2. Watch for the 37 car. RS1 car that Jan Halen is sharing. He could certainly jump up into the top 3 here.
Yeah, they tested here a couple of weeks ago, and they said they really got a good feel for it. And they opted to run the older of the Porsche Caymans. They said there were some things on it that they thought, particularly here at the GLEN, that would be really strong, and it's proven to be pretty much of a wise choice. And you know, Chris has done some of the Global MX-5 Cup Challenge class racing as well as Porsche Club America, so he's got some chops, no question. He's done well in those. There's a look at the number 2. That's Jason Bell, running here with
Andrew Davis.
Andrew Davis, as you said, is awfully strong.
Yeah, they're going to be should be a good outing for this group here this weekend.
Jason had a good run here last year in the sprint category. It's a track he really gets around well.
Kozrov and Sofronas, definitely the quicker drivers in their car, going to be electing to start this first race, get that track position, turn it over to the teammates. We've certainly seen that Jeff Burton is up to the task if you provided the car in good shape.
Absolutely.
Kozrov has improved his time.
54.3. James giving it a good run here, but just not quite on that Kozarov level of pace. Bellardo, look at that now, up to 3rd.
Yeah, I could
you
see
said
that
was
one
a good
going.
lap, yeah.
And putting in perspective Kozarov's time and the setup the Red and Racing Group have put together for him, because he's about a second clear of Sofronas in the same car, basically.
Mullen 4th, Brynjolfsson 5th, Fosnot 6th, Dynan 7th. A little bit of a surprise to me, perhaps, that Chris Wilson is back as in the 8th spot. Normally, that's another pairing where they're ranked equally, but Chris is the quicker of the 2 drivers. Normally, he's right up at the top 5 end of things here in the Autotechnic BMW. Here at the 17, the TRG Racing Porsches being chased. Up through the S's here. And I think, if that's the number 46, I think it is the Nola Sport car. Big story there, as Guy Cosmo and Patrick Byrne, who had run a GT3 car up at Sonoma, decided that they were going to try this category of racing in GT4. Maybe get Patrick Byrne a little experience in this category as well. And everything was set with Rentec. And then on the way here, their truck had a huge wreck, and they weren't able to get the car here. Made a call to Nola Sport and said, "You happen to have your 46 car available?" And they said, "Yeah, and we've got it in the truck. Why?" And they went, "Well, we'd like to talk to you about it." So Byrne and Cosmo are running this machine.
The good news is, I guess, there's a pretty monster wreck, and the good news is that the Rentec truckie is okay.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So all the best to that team in recovering and regrouping after, you tend to lose track of all of the logistics that goes into just seeing the cars on the racetrack. There's an enormous amount of work and travel that brings their little network together to be here at Watkins Glen this weekend.
Well, I've always loved the term when you hear it referred to, oftentimes with Grand Prix racing, but the Grand Prix Circus. And it really was spelled out to me at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I was sitting with some fans on the test day Thursday and watching the paddock grow. And the guy said, "I love it when the circus comes and sets up." And you realize that's exactly right. It is. It's phenomenal. Boy, as is this guy as a driver, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff.
So what happens now is there's a short break between the switch over here. Jeff will jump on board. you can put a new set of Pirelli P0s on. So Vesco just giving him a pat on the back saying, it's pretty good, buddy. Just doing cut and paste on what I just did in that session.
Yep, here's the 36. So Jared Andretti will be climbing on board that one as all the drivers get their new tires, their new Pirelli P0s, and an opportunity to go out. And here's Jeff Burton getting ready to go. So 1:54.343 by Kozerov. Boy, that was a lap. Safronis second, Belluardo third, and that would be the provisional pole for a Pro-Am team.
And I tell you what, that bodes well for Jan Halen.
Yes, it does.
Let's see if he can grab a pole here in this next segment of qualifying. His teammate.
Well, they were talking about when I was chatting with them, and you know, they said the older of the GT4 Caymans, they said, doesn't have quite the downforce, but as a result, it's a little lighter, and there's all these little things in it. And they said, if you get the right lap around here, we think it could still be really, really effective. And they're out to prove it, aren't they?
Well, as we said before in one of the earlier sessions this morning about downforce levels, it's finding the ultimate compromise between getting the downforce necessary to be effective in the brake zones through the corners and scoot down these straightaways.
So here's the first session provisional results. Kozerov and Safronis 1-2, and you can see their co-drivers on the right side. They'll be the ones coming out next. Both AM category cars up front. Then Belluardo sitting in the provisional pole for the Pro-Am class in the debut for RS1. Colin Mullen, then Trent Hinman, and Brynjolfsson, and it was Brynjolfsson who was out in that first session with a solid run there, and then Matt Fosnot, 6th overall. Dynan, Wilson, Mueller, Anderson rounding out the top 10. And the National AM category point leaders, Preston Calvert and Matt Keegan, they were 14th overall, but I'm looking for fourth in class. So let's see what they can do for this second qualifying run. And an interesting story, watch this. Frank Gannett sitting 5th in class right now, 19th overall, the number 24. Interesting story. You go back to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and Marko Radicic, who the Precision Performance team slated to run there with his co-driver Carl Whitmer, they were heading into Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with a lead in the points. And Marco had a last-minute issue, and they couldn't get into the country. And as a result, the team didn't get there.
Right.
Carl Canadian was there and was, what am I going to do? Frank Gannett stepped up, said, look, let's put you in my car. We'll enter it in the Eastern category championship, and we'll see if we can't do something for you. And they promptly went out and had a great weekend, and Frank probably had one of his best drives of the weekend. And they said, let's keep this pairing together here. Ford came to them and said, boy, we'd sure like it if you did that. And so Carl Whitmer will be hopping in the 24 for this next session here, and he's quick.
Yeah, it's a great story because, unfortunately, with Marco missing both those events there, he dropped from the lead down to 5th.
Yeah,
he's now elected to not continue in this class. And, Carl was left stranded up in Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. He got that ride and obviously gelled really well. They had a podium run up there. So Carl has maintained the lead, albeit it was narrowed down to just 2 points now over McAleer and Raphael. But he's got a seat, he's got a place, and see what he can do. It's going to tighten up the championship.
Ooh, that's a big development there by point leaders. The number 47 entry from NOLA Sport.
Oh, wow.
The Vest Energy Group car. That's going up on a flatbed, so there's something seriously amiss there. And that's huge. I mean, they've got a nice points margin, but
20th on the grid, 8th in class, so
yeah, not good at all for that.
This is a team that's not finished off the podium yet this year. That will certainly be challenging to keep that streak going.
Absolutely. By the way, just to go back to the Marko Radicic and the Precision Performance team, he is here and running in the sprint category, so his season continues. And he said he saw the opportunity there for Carl with the interest from the manufacturer that was kind of coming into play as well. He said wish him the best. So good camaraderie here. There is Justin Raphael hopping out.
I think he was 3rd in class in that session.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah.
McAleer is very, very quick.
Been a busy boy this year on some different championships.
Yes, he has. All right. So field heading out now for Group 2 qualifying. Set the starting lineup for the second of the doubleheader events here.
Will be Foley there leading the charge.
He's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, big year. This is a really impressive young driver.
Yes.
Making a big statement this year. I think you get another year or two underneath Robbie Foley's belt. He will be making some headlines in motorsport. He's already doing it to a certain degree. There's Byrne. Just needs to, nice calm approach here. Got a good car, as we could see from Kozrov's time. See what he can do with this session. We said everyone on their own.
Yeah.
Fresh set of Pirelli P0s.
A white car in the middle of the queue. That's the 46 Vest Energy Group NOLA Sport car, now in the hands of Guy Cosmo. And we'll see whatever he's able to pull off here.
Yeah, Guy's the ultimate pro.
Isn't he?
Kind of slipped through the net at the higher echelon of racing, but even so, he always finds himself in some good places, some quality teams, and
yes,
a great mentor and coach, and he's really found a sweet spot in the industry.
And you're right. I mean, when he was coming up, and I remember calling him in Atlantic, and every time he got behind the wheel of a car, he was there. He just excelled. And it was like, boys, he got a future. Yeah. And he's made one for himself, but he certainly had all the capability to go farther than fortune has taken him. But in a way, I guess that can make it even more satisfying when you've done it on your own here. But now we are underway. We'll see what happens in this session. Again, in theory, if you've got a higher rated driver versus another driver, they should be in the car for this one. And oftentimes we see these battles, and this qualifying run just be incredibly intense.
So Kozrov has the fastest GT4 time of the day, right?
Yes.
54.3. So
Yep.
let's see if any of these hot shots can steal the thunder.
And you saw there is a Ginetta still in the field. That's the Dexter Racing entry. Ryan Dexter, who teamed up with his brother Warren at Portland, not able to make the trip due to school commitments. So the coach for the team, Ben Anderson, is joining Warren Dexter. Keep an eye out for that white number 63. There it is.
Pretty sure it's Robbie Foley in the car. Timing and scoring are still indicating Michael Dinan, but by rating, Michael should have done the first quali, and it should be Robbie in the car now. We've got probably lost that second sector there by coming across the Ginetta through the inner loop.
And part of that process is, when you see somebody that's looks like maybe the wrong driver in the car, sometimes it's just a simple matter that the driver getting in the car didn't change the transponder loop.
Okay, so you can jump to the top here. Look at some of the guns in this field. You got Andretti, who's already got a sprint race pole in his pocket for the day. James Clay, Hinman, Cosmo, Premat. What can he do? Jan Halen,
Leofoge,
Andrew Davis,
Whitmer, Goulart.
You could have some big names not in the top 10 in this
Yes,
one.
you could, easily. And in this one, certainly, it looks like Jason Hart will not be with us. Story will continue to follow, obviously. All right, through the S's, this should be a serious flyer here. Let's see, Shimshak just turned a 155.5 in the 34 Murillo Racing Mercedes. Clay into second.
Foley fastest first sector.
Andretti jumps to second at a 55.59. Hinman in the yellow Porsche just coming up the hill. There's Andretti.
Glorious day here at the Glen. Just got to be wonderful to be behind the wheel of one of these awesome GT4 machines. Just generate a lot of grip. Racetrack provides a lot of grip. Fresh tires. Doesn't get much sweeter than this.
I think that's James Clay who's mirroring Shimshak right now. Shimshak lets him through.
Yeah, I think I may have cost James a little bit of speed there.
Yeah.
Rolling apex speed through the laces of the boot.
Leafauge to the top. 55.4 for Stephen Cameron Racing, teammate to Sean Quinlan. Prima showing his pace too, Cal.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some 54s here pretty quick.
Yeah, and Halen feeling quiet right at the moment. That's not going to last.
Whitmer is fastest first sector. 30.8 in the first sector. Hinman fastest sector 2, so times are going to start to tumble here, I feel.
There's Leafauge, currently quickest. But as you said,
Silvercharged that a little bit. That was not ideal. Scrambling to recover and blend back into the rhythm. Same thing there. He's really just overdriving it a little bit.
And it's showing. Look, he's up 3/10 over his previous one. And Hinman, a 54.9. So as you said, starting to dip into the 54s, the 77-volt lighting, Park Place Porsche there. Andrew Davis at a 54.928.
Yeah, watch Halen. He's got personal best first sector, fastest overall second sector. Looking at Hinman now in the Vault Racing. Porsche came in there. What an impressive young talent he is.
Truly is.
Leading a major GT3 championship this year handily. Could clinch a championship here in the next couple of weeks. Sliding it there.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how much grip you give these guys, they'll still always look for a little bit more.
He's up by over a 10th. Here's Whitmer.
To the top. Whitmer has the pole position right now by just 0.03 of a second over Jan Halen. Hinman now drops to third.
What a lap by Whitmer. Halen has been quick all weekend long, and Whitmer, as you said, just pipping. I think that's the fastest GT4 lap. It's a little quicker. I think Kozarov had a 3.9, didn't he?
Yep.
So what a lap. Halen, Hinman. Right now, top 5. Matt Keegan just threw in a lap, Cal, at a 54.978. Take the provisional AM pole in the Panos for Panos Racing. So the top 5 all in the 54s.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He's going to be able to have a little dinner conversation with his mate Ian James. I don't think that's far away from Ian James' time.
I think you're right.
In the sprint.
See anybody doing the first sector on this lap? A few personal.
Yeah, I don't see too many purples popping up. Purple meaning that they're fastest in the sector. And purple overall time is currently held by Whitmer at a 154.33. Two drivers in that range. Shimshak's now dipped. Davis just below the 155 range. So we got 6 drivers underneath the 155 barrier.
You know, for Burton at a 55.2, that's a pretty respectable lap as well.
Very nice.
He's in front of Leafauge, McAleer, Foley. Says something, but tell you, Matt Keegan just continues to impress, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's really good. He's a great fit for this team.
Yep.
They brought him on board to join Ian last year when the GT4 championship moved to that SprintX format.
Ian lobbied for him, didn't he?
He did.
He said he saw something. Yeah, and with good reason.
I think the key with all of this is Matt now brings it to pit lane. He's got the pole in class. You see those overall spots. It's like, you know, you just got to focus on your own guy.
Yes.
Just like Jeff Burton. That's a really nice lap. So he's got Kozarov on the pole, his teammate for race 1, and he's now going to line up second in class, which is what their main focus is this weekend.
Yeah, that's big.
The overall position is just the cherry on the cake. Hinman bails.
Yep.
Halen fastest first sector.
Here we go.
He's going to want that big time. He's going to put it all on the line.
Yep, in the number 37 entry. Heading over into the bus stop.
Oh, no, he must have got traffic. Terrible second sector.
Oh, yeah. That's too bad, because that first sector was
still got time.
2 tenths. He was 2 tenths up.
He's still got time. He's got some cars up ahead of him looking at the.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah, he just needs to bail. See, that's the experience.
Yep.
Okay, I had a good one going. There's potential here. I don't need much to grab that pole position. What I do need is a clear lap.
Yes. And again, it's that patience, isn't it? You know, understanding it and going, oh, I've got some time. I don't have to panic. I have to tell you, I was delightfully surprised where I live in Dunedin, Florida.
What's he doing? He's bailing, I think.
He is. In Dunedin, Florida, the place that we have always taken our bikes to get worked on. Hadn't been down there for a couple of years. We rented the place out for a while. And I go down to take our bikes over and get them tuned to go out and everything. And a completely different look to this bike shop. It's called Cafe Racer. And I walk in, and there's a Porsche GT chassis sitting there, a tub. And I'm like, what is going on? I walk around the corner, and there's Jan Halen. He bought the thing and has turned it into this absolutely upscale bike shop and cafe. And it's phenomenal.
He's always been big time into the fitness. I know Pat Long used to be based down in the St. Pete area. I think they may have been sharing a house or something, and used to do paddle boarding and all sorts of fitness stuff. So totally on top of his game. It's Cosmo. Maybe looking for a bit more right now. 4th in class, 13th overall. Whitmer and Halen both in pit lane. Shimshak is still out there. He may have a shot at. He's only 4 tenths off.
Davis still out there. And that's an interesting development too, by the way, the #2 Global Motorsports Group entry of Davis and Jason Bell, the Highway Systems Asteria Kitchen and Bar entry. In the SprintX, they've been running an Audi all year. Early in this season, Bell had switched to a Porsche for the sprint races, but they decided they got a new Porsche and they're running it here as well. So, see if Davis could do anything here in this last bit of time as we watch Shimshak. Been an amazing story for this team this year, hasn't it? Because they were only scheduled to do the Eastern races, and then Kenny Murillo got a hold of Shimshak and said, look, for the Western races that Matt's not doing, you interested? Shimshak said, yeah, sure, let's give it a go. And probably came out and won them.
Yes.
And now I'm sure they're rueing a little bit, not maybe doing the National, but Matt just couldn't put that together. And that car is just a solid car in this category.
Well, the car is, the team is, the setups are solid, and you know, Matt has really just blossomed over the last couple of seasons as he's got more and more seat time.
And Kenny, aside from being a heck of a driver, the son is a pretty good data guy, so you got that going for you. And his dad, of course, runs the team from a sports car championship winning mindset as well. So yeah, you're right, it's very important. But the one thing I think about this Mercedes, I'm curious as to your thoughts on it, is you talk about you have a pro, but you also need a car that is comfortable for the gentleman driver, and that Mercedes just seems incredibly tunable and comfortable for any level of driver.
I think it's got a big sweet spot. I think when we talked earlier about car being edgy in terms of the setup, I think the Mercedes is very compliant. It gives you the confidence on turn in. Can use the curbs good under the brakes. It may not be the best in any certain category, but it's strong in every department, you know.
Here's Andrew Davis, the #2. He's a 2-time, I think, Grand Am GT champion. And he and Jason Bell, I think, are really strong Pro-Am pairing here. And there's that new Porsche they're running. Let's see if Andrew, I think he may be heading into pit lane. Yep.
2nd in class, 5th overall. I think he'll be a little disappointed with that. I'm sure he had his sights set on fastest time. He and Jan Halen were only a few hundredths apart yesterday.
Yep. Still in the 54s. But yeah, Whitmer and Halen right now are they got a nice chunk of time between themselves. Halen at a 54.36. Next up, Shimshak at a 54.7. Then Hinman at a 54.9. So boy, that was just a stellar lap by Carl Whitmer. And I mean, what a great development, you know, when you see the speed that he has, that when they had that problem with the Marco's team, that Marco said, do what you need to do. And Frank Gannett stepped up and to see this kind of performance is just wonderful, I think. And Mark will be as proud and happy for him as anybody, that's for sure.
Only threat out there right now is Shimshak. He's a couple of tenths down on the best foot. Well, not actually, about 10th and a half. So let's see what he does in sector 2. No, doesn't run his personal best. He hadn't taken the checkered flag yet, so this lap would count if he wants to finish it off. But they basically have a predictive lap time inside the cockpit on the steering wheel. Okay. And if they're seeing they're not going to get there, they'll just bail and not take any more life out of the tires. These are the tires they have to start on for race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, the best second sector thus far is a 38.6 by Halen. And Shimshak was at a 39, so yeah. So, there's that Janetta from Dexter Racing. Warren Dexter in this session had a really good second sector. I was just looking at the times of the 38.9.
Oh, Shimshak went faster than his personal best, but still leaves him in 3rd position.
54.75, yeah. He did improve a bit, that's nice. There's Mr. Halen, working his way back to the paddock as the checker is out. Now, did he set that before the checker flew, or?
Yep.
So
no, that was a good lap. That lap counts, so he's now on his cool-down lap. So he was kind of the last one to get a fast lap in. Right. Track is pretty empty. There's like 3 or 4 cars out there.
So here's how it currently stands in the second qualifying, or the qualifying for race 2, which is essentially round 12 of the championship. Whitmer and Gannett. Great lap by Carl Whitmer. Halen and Belluardo. Shimshak and Fosnat. Brynjolfsson Hinman and Davis Bell. That's your top 5. Then Keegan and Calvert. Burton and Kozaroff, Leofoge, Quinlan, Raphael McAleer, and rounding out the top 10, Ari Belog and Tom Dyer. Nice to have Tom back driving. I did some racing a couple of years ago in the GT3 category with real time, I believe, in the Acuras.
Yeah.
Nice to have him here in an appearance with Stephen Cameron Racing and welcoming Ari back. So the fields are set now for both of these Pirelli GT4 America SprintX races. One of them will be coming up just a little bit later today. A busy Saturday here at Watkins Glen.